Can't help but feel for him. Great football player, but even greater human being. Praying for him and his family and hoping everything's okay. This game of football that we play, it's got its highs and it's got its lows, and that's definitely one of the lows.
This is an unfortunate conversation that we must have. As someone who is a huge Tua Tagovailoa fan, since the days that he played at Alabama, his health concerns are continuing to get more alarming, especially in his recent game against the Buffalo Bills. And in this video, we're going to talk about the game, the eventual hit, a recap of that game, and my concerns about Tua Tagovailoa. While I still believe in his abilities to play the game of football, the unknowns about his health has me concerned about his life going forward. And with that, let's get into a recap of this game. All right, so the game didn't start or end good for the Dolphins offense. Tua would throw a pick early off of miscommunication with him and the wide receiver. The Bills will go on to score a wide open pass to James Cook. That play before that had so much misdirection there, I assumed that the defense simply got confused. Nobody was in the same area code when James Cook scored that touchdown. But just like that, deja vu would kick in and the Dolphins would score in a similar fashion. The Bills defense would do the same thing on the other end of the field, which led to a touchdown pass from Tua to A-Chain. The Dolphins would eventually get the ball back after a good defensive stop, but this will happen.
Tua back, Tua has time, overthrows.
These picks from Tua would lead to another score by the Buffalo Bills, this time being 3 points. And I guess in his defense, you can say that these picks were caused by some miscommunication between him and the wide receiver. But either way you slice it, whether it's a bad pass or miscommunication, it's still Buffalo's ball. And if you're Tua, you gotta clean this up, because at this point in the game, the Bills had only scored on opportunities that you gave them. So after this field goal, the score is now 10-7. But that fact that I just said would soon change. After this great throw by Josh Allen, James Cook will go on to cha-cha slide into the end zone. Not a lot of resistance there from that Dolphins D-line on that particular play. The score is now 17-7. A great long and sustained drive by the Buffalo Bills right here, who are clearly in command of this game. The Dolphins are once again off to a slow start on offense, just like they were last week. But this leads me directly into giving a shout out to the Buffalo Bills defense, a group that showed up and showed out in this game, especially with there being a lot of question marks around this Buffalo team all offseason long. And if they can continue to play this way throughout the regular season, the Buffalo Bills are going to be a team to be reckoned with. And you can see this on full display, especially on this fourth down sack that they had on Tua Tagovailoa. They did a great job in stopping the Dolphins offense and getting them off the field. And if things couldn't get even worse for the Dolphins, James Cook was cooking. One play, one TD. The man ran for a 49-yard touchdown immediately after that fourth down stop by the defense. And if you're the Dolphins, you're now looking at this game the same way you did last week. You're down, and this time by more than just 14. The score is now 24-7. And if you were playing against James Cook in fantasy this week, I really hate it for you, because I'm pretty sure that he was doing some cooking. Let's look at how many points he had. Oh yeah, that boy's killing. And at this point on Thursday Night Football, when the lights are bright on primetime TV, on Prime Video, you have a butt whooping, a kicking, an old-fashioned beatdown on your hands. And a lot of this was just self-inflicted pain by the Dolphins. You gave them a 10-point spot. They would, however, make it a 14-point game with this field goal that they made before halftime. So maybe, just maybe, the comeback could be possible. Down by double digits once again like they were last week. But as we all know, it would happen again.
Forced to throw it, and it's going to be picked off.
The O-line is banged up. One of the O-linemen actually came out of the game on this play to get a harness or something fixed on his shoulder. He goes out of the game. The O-line gets blown up on the left side, which eventually led to all of this pressure. Tua would try to throw the ball away, but not enough arm strength on that throw, and it led to that interception. Bad day for Tua so far, and a great day for the Buffalo Bills defense. And this is Tua, who is trying to fight allegations of not being able to beat top-tier competition. And right now, he still hasn't beaten top-tier competition. I loved Tua when he was at Alabama.
Number 10.
And it pains me to even have to talk bad about him, but it is what it is. Because it seems like once the pressure is at its highest, and for him and this Dolphin team, the pressure is at its highest when they are in these top tier competition games, because they know that they haven't gotten the job done yet against a team that has a name that's supposed to be in that playoff picture. Now, the Dolphins, I believe, will ultimately be in the mix at the end of the season, depending on what happens to Tua, and we're going to talk about that later. But with that pick and run back, the score is now 31-10. The next drive would start off okay for the Miami Dolphins, where we will actually see them move the ball down the field, eventually see Tua get a first down run, but this will unfortunately be the play where he gets hurt. I wish he would have slid right here, and I said that immediately after I saw the play. I don't know about y'all, when I first saw it, it looked like Tua was posturing. And for you guys that don't know what posturing is, it is exactly what we saw Tua do the first time with his hands, and it looked like that happened. I immediately thought, uh-oh. I hope he is fine. I hope he makes a full recovery. He was limping off the field, and so then I thought maybe it wasn't a head injury, but we would hear later on that he was diagnosed with another concussion. And this is what prompted me to make this video the way that I'm making this video. I think Tua should strongly consider retiring. And it was at this point in the game I really couldn't enjoy watching it anymore. I know it was a blowout, but I like to watch small details even if a game is a blowout, depending on if there's any other football games going on. It's Thursday night, there's no more football, so this is all I had. But it was at this point it just wasn't even enjoyable to see anymore. To summarize the rest of it, the Bills defense will continue to dominate, stopping the Dolphins on fourth down again and again. There were no scores in the fourth quarter, and the score would end 31-10. Recapping the stats before we get deep into our conversation about Tua: Josh Allen, 13 for 19, 139 yards, 1 touchdown. He really did not have to do much in this game except for be a game manager. That's not a bad saying. I don't know where that came from. All Josh Allen had to do here was take care of the ball, and everything was fine. And you get a score like 31-10. Great game by Josh Allen. Did exactly what he had to do. No turnovers. Perfect performance. James Cook, 11 carries, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. A fantastic game by him. Fantasy owners, congratulations, or I'm so sorry for your loss. Tua Tagovailoa, 17 for 25, 145, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs. He has to clean up those mistakes, whether that's on him or the wide receivers. The stat line still goes to him. There is no such thing as a wide receiver error, wide receiver interception. All we have to go off of is the 3 interceptions by the QB. The QB has the most responsibility, so inherently they receive the most blame. Will the Buffalo Bills defense continue to play the way that it is playing, and will the Dolphins offense continue to struggle the way that it is struggling? Those are questions that we have right now after this game, but the biggest question of all of that is the health of Tua Tagovailoa. All right, let me sit back for this one, because Tua is a guy I really do root for. I root for every single player that has played for the University of Alabama, whether they left, whether they stayed. If they put on that Crimson Tide uniform, most of the time I'm rooting for them. And it's not just because of that, but at the same time, it hits a lot different when you have been watching a guy progress and mature the way that I've been watching Tua progress and mature. The thing about Tua is he started out on such a high note, especially coming into a game for Jalen Hurts, winning a championship against Georgia, and I imagine being on cloud 9 during that time. Coming into the University of Alabama, continuing to deal with ankle injuries time and time again, having tightrope surgery, different things like that. Ultimately, having a horrific injury where he hurt his hip against Mississippi State, an injury that a lot of people did not know if he was going to come back from. He gets drafted by the Miami Dolphins, and since that time was being told that he was not good enough. A guy who has had to deal with a lot of mental hurdles. Had a coach by the name of Brian Flores, a guy who in his mind did not believe in him. And so with that, it came self-doubt. Self-doubt that he has already had before he even met Brian Flores, because he was not even sure if he was going to be able to come back from his hip injury and play the game of football. You go back and forth between being benched for a Ryan Fitzpatrick, playing here, not playing here, getting taken out anytime you make a mistake, and not being sure if the guys that are behind you actually believe in you. Insert new coach Mike McDaniel, a guy who does believe in you. And now you actually have some confidence going, but all of a sudden you get one concussion, you get another concussion, you get another concussion, and now we're looking at Tua and actually saying that you really should consider retiring, because a lot of fans are actually and honestly concerned about your health. He has a wife at home, he has kids at home, he has different things that he needs to think about other than a game of football. As much as I love to watch him throw the football, as much as I love the storyline, the fact that Tua was able to come back from that hip, get paid in the NFL, now is trying to make a name for himself in the NFL, as much as we all love all of that, has been way too many times where we have seen concussions, head injuries, altered personalities, alter life. Things are bigger than football. Now, I do not believe for a second that Tua is going to retire. I simply don't. I think there's an inherent pressure on Tua to prove doubters wrong. I believe in his game, but at the same time, I do not want to see Tua go out there and do irreversible damage to himself, something that he will regret for the rest of his life. Will he have some regret if he was to call it quits? Yes, because he will have that what if syndrome. And since right now I have no doubt in my mind that Tua will continue to play football, all we can do right now is pray for his safety. And that goes for anybody, but it's different when you can actually see it. A lot of times people may have concussions in their background. People may not say anything. And I really do encourage anybody who has any type of concussion symptom, they have them. They need to speak out. They need to be taken out of the game. And they don't need to put themselves in further harm. Because at the end of the day, when football is done for you, that's it. The thing about it is, it's like anything else. Once you hurt it one time, it becomes easier and easier and easier for it to get hurt again. And so that's why I believe that Tua should strongly consider it. I don't believe he will do it, but I think the conversations need to be had. I love the game of football. I love watching it. It's an inherently dangerous sport. We know this. But at the end of the day, it's a sport. Life is more important.